Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a brand new chapter of PSGL. And this is PSGL Season 41. And we're kicking off things here at the iconic Albert Grand Prix for the Australian Grand Prix for round one of the F3 Championship. After last season's unforgettable title fight, expectations could be higher. Season 40 gave us drama all the way to the final race in Brazil, a championship that was decided not just off the track. Days later, it was Stefano crossed the pit lane, believing he crossed the line, believing he had won the title. But after post-race penalties, it was TF10 Wards who was officially crowned PSGL F3 champion. A dramatic twist that be talked about for years. But that's in the past. Tonight, a new season begins. The state is wiped clean. New names, new challenges, new rivals waiting to ignite. And what a better place to begin than the Albert Grand Prix, the home of the Australian Grand Prix since 1996. The Albert Park circuit, 5.2 kilometres long and features 14 corners flowing through parkland roads that sit all the way to the edge of disaster. It's a high-speed street circuit style that punishes mistakes, and track limits will be a real threat tonight as well. Rhythm and confidence are everything here. One lock up, one step over steer, and it could be early trips to the barriers. We have reloaded the grid for seasons 41. Returning, his last name is Polimachi, a race winner in Kota, who now looks to bring consistency this season. Napo is back as a solid midfield force with unfinished business. From F4 drivers like Slav, Evan Naslund and Titio Rafal step up and bring serious talent here. So let's see what happens here tonight then with the 18-minute qualifier session and a 29-lap race. My name is Joe Morris, your main commentator as it was for last season, and next to me is Milan Langer. How are you doing, mate?
I am doing quite good, thank you very much. It feels like it's been a while. It's been ages since that race in Brazil, a couple of weeks ago, the season finale. But it's glad to be back. And what track to be back at the Australian Grand Prix. Certainly one of the best season opening tracks we've had in F1. So it feels great to be back, and we're starting off with this qualifying session indeed. And first out on track is Napel, one of the three drivers who participated last season in season 40. And he is back for another season driving in the Williams. And is one of the first ones out on track, but it is getting busier very early on in this session. This track, of course, very high speed ever since they made those changes back in 2021, I believe, removing those two chicanes, or at least making the final sector a bit quicker as well. So we now got 4 DRS zones to deal with, which is definitely going to be interesting during the race and in qualifying as well. It's going to be key to manage that battery. And Apple, he is going to round the final couple of corners to prepare for his first flying lap, the first official flying lap of PSGL Season 41 PSF3. So let's ride on board with the Williams and see what he can do as he enters the start-finish straight to kick off his lap going towards the turns 1 and 2 chicane. And we have to keep them in wide lines. You can cut across a little bit, but you have to be careful to not run out too wide and get yourself an invalidation. But he has done so nicely now as we go towards the next corner, the heavy braking zone of turn 3. And then turn 4, you have to be careful of the curb on the outside line. Can really catch you off guard. It used to be a high sausage curb in previous years, and now turn 5 flat out, but the wall is getting close on the outside now. A very quick chicane here. It goes quite wide, and that is unfortunately invalidation. Could have seen that coming. It's very easy to do in that chicane, and unfortunately Napel, his lap time will not count as he goes down the back straight there.
Indeed, though, what a shame there for Napel. It's the most common place to invalidate at turn 6, and many people have fell foul. I doubt he's the first and last to do so. On board then with the newcomer of Almenico in P13 and the Aston Martin. He's making his way now towards the third DRS zone. I believe with the DRS wide open. There is 4 DRS zones around here, so we should be very interested to see how the battle's going to go down. But as we head through turn 9 and turn 10, this fast left-right hander, full speed, committed all the way through, plant the car on the outside of the curb, DRS enabled, headed down in towards turn 11, a hard braking zone, and we've seen many battles here as well in towards this braking zone. As we exit turn number 11, I believe it is, use the curb on the outside. You should be very careful. Better the car in through here as well. Now coming towards the final corners in turn 13 and 14. I think this will be the first official lap. No, McKillen has got it with a 50.6. So that's the first lap time on the board as his Ferrari teammate Privatox goes quickest with a 15.4. Here comes Almico, he goes up to P3 in the Aston Martin, just behind the 2 Ferraris there. So Privatox with a 15.4. I'm expecting these lap times to be low 15s, maybe a high 14.9, depends if the driver could get it or not, but it would be very interesting. 19 drivers here tonight, of course, as Polimachi, well, destroys that with a 40.9 then, so well clear, half a second clear of P2, and that is an absolutely stonking lap time indeed there for Polimachi, a man who was in the Haas last season, but unfortunately his problems with internet just let him down the whole time. He was very strong towards the back end of last season too, with multiple win and a few podiums as well. So hopefully everything can be sorted here for the McLaren driver who wasn't a Haas, as DeMarco goes up to P1 with a 40.961 and 300s separating the top two there as well. Let's see, we've got plenty of people then on their flying laps. Most of them are making mistakes, validated as it is around here. 5.2 kilometer track is very difficult and it's so easy to call time. We've got McLaren and Red Bull there scrapping over the last corner, so hopefully nothing happens there. But Efland, the Swedishman, is about to make his way towards the line now as we head down the main straight. DRS wide open, and let's see, coming down in towards turn one, breaking the black box, hitting the curb on the inside there and on the outside too. Just be very wary and careful of those track limits as we head down towards turn 3. Another heavy braking zone, very important to go off all the speed down to gears, clip the apex, back to the throttle once again. We go over to the right side to get a good launch in towards the left-hander of turn 4. Now coming through turn 5, this quick right-hander should be flat out, as we saw Jack doing across there earlier on this year. As we now head towards the end of the first sector, it's a 26.1. The car seems compliant, although there was a bit of rear movement there from Efland coming out of turn 6, but now the DRS wide open. This is where we see overtaking happening around here as well, because the slipstream and DRS is so powerful on this track, and his middle sector is a 43.0 as he heads through turn 9 and turn 10. Went a bit wide at turn 9 there, but collected it and scooped back up in turn 10. Now approaching the heavy braking zone, braking at the 100 meter board. Down to the gears he goes, hit the apex, he just missed it narrowly there, but as coming on the outside, of course, it's very easy to lose traction there as well. Coming through turn 12 and 13, the final couple of corners on this racetrack, there is a racing bull who's in front of us, but luckily he gets out of the way before he starts to fly a lap. Now the McLaren driver with the DRS wide open, let's see what lap time is he could have set. It's going to be a 15.3, and that wasn't bad. A few corrections there and then, but still a decent lap time there for the McLaren driver, just behind his teammate on Polymachi too. I wonder how those two are going to do this season, because Polymachi was very quick last season in PSGL F2, F3 shall I say, but unfortunately his internet let him down all the time, and he got caught with a few incidents too afterwards. So hopefully it's redemption season for Polymachi. His teammate from last season, Luke, didn't win the championship. It wasn't Stefano who won the championship, it was Wards who won the championship after the post-race penalties, and it was his first win of the season, and he got himself his first championship in F3, so he must be ecstatic indeed. We've got more people then on a flying lap. Let's see how they do. We've got Napoli coming down towards 11. A driver last season for Kick Sauber, who did have his struggles as well. He used to, I think he was running inside the top 10. Majority of the time was Napoli, whilst his teammate Wards was on this absolute flyer. But here comes Napoli towards the final corner, where we saw the DRS wide open for the first time, and Adrian Sutil spinning out. Here comes Napoli now. It's a 50.6. and it goes up, or 50.8, and it goes up to P8.
Still quite a few drivers who haven't set a lap time yet. One of them is the RB of SAT Levi. He's making his way out of the chicane. Bit of a moment through there though. He's run out of battery already, going in towards the final sector. Let's see what he is going to be able to do as he comes out. Big shot on the inside. He hits the inside curve there a little bit, and that unsettles the rear end, and losing him quite a bit of time as he goes towards the final two corners. Let's see if he is going to be able to break into the top 10. Still 12 drivers only have the lap times, still 7 remain to do that, as he is going to cross the line for a 1:15.7, puts him in P12 on the ahead of Mighty Wombat. There's still quite a few drivers behind, and the Haas and the Red Bull both out track as well, but at the moment DeMico, his lap time of 14.961 currently puts him on provisional pole position, but he's only 26,000 of a second ahead of Polymachi. The two McLarens looking quite competitive as well here at Melbourne, in sitting in P2 and P3 right now, but only DeMico and Polymachi have been able to get themselves into the 1:14. So the Haas is going to start his flying lap time, so let's see what he is going to be able to do. Let's see if he's going to be able to get ahead of his teammate at least, who is currently down in the 1:16, so I must have backed up on his lap, and might be able to get an improvement later on in the session. Just under 10 minutes remain here in qualifying. A little bit wide there out of turn 4 was the Haas, but I don't think he's lost too much time with that. Now going through the turn 6 and 7 chicane. Let's see if he keeps it in the right lines. Yes, he does. Now entering the back straight, using a lot of battery and deploying the DRS now as well, as we now go towards the very quick chicane of turns 9 and 10, where you have to be mindful of those curbs on the inside. They can really catch you off guard, but it looks like he is navigating his way through there nicely. And now DRS open once more for the 4th time around this track, as we go into the twisty section. That is the final sector, very close to the inside curb. and coming out a bit wide on exit, but hasn't lost time with that. Now going almost flat out there through turn 12 and into the braking zone of turn 13. A little bit deep there for the Haas, but now coming out of the final corner, flat out towards the finish line, using everything of the battery he's still got. And let's see what lap time it's going to be. It's going to be 1:15.4, puts him in P5, just ahead of Provatox, who is out on lap as well. I think he has just started one in the Ferrari. Let's see. He certainly is. So has he gained some time on this lap, I wonder, through sector 1? Yes, he has. A few hundredths of a second, but he runs out wide and invalidates. He's not the first one to do so. Won't be the last either, and unfortunately, that lap will not count either for the Ferrari driver. But Polymacci has just started another flying lap as well. Let's see what he is going to be able to do. He only needs to find a few hundredths of a second to be able to beat the Maiko, but of course, we know the Alpine probably has got some time up his sleeve as well, so he needs to get as quick as possible on his second run. Let's see how much time he's gained through sector 1. Only a hundredth of a second, but he himself runs out wide, and that's another invalidation. And Polymacci will not be able to improve on this lap time either, whilst his rival currently, who is sitting on provisional pole position, has just started his second flying lap as well, his second attempt in the Alpine. Let's see if he's going to be able to get through the turn 6-7 chicane cleanly, unlike we've seen quite a few drivers who managed away. As he's up by 8 hundredths of a second there, and he himself does keep it within the white lines, so now he can focus on the rest of the lap and hopefully find a bit more time through the middle sector. Of course, it's only a straight line, and that's turn 6-7 in chicane, the second sector, and he found a little bit of time, a 1/10 up through the middle part of the lap. A little bit slow out of the chicane, but I don't think it has cost him too much, as we see some traffic up ahead. Let's hope they're going to get out of the way very soon. Yes, they do. The Red Bull on the right hand side now to the final couple of corners. Can he extend his advantage currently at the top of the times? Can he go into a 1:40.8, 40.7 even maybe if he finds some more time in the final sector? The Maiko is going to cross the line for what will be a 1:14.905. He's lost some time in the final sector, but it's still an improvement and extends his lead to just over 8 hundredths of a second towards Polymacci.
So close to the top two there, barely anything separating DeMarco and Polymacci. And Alpine were looking very strong last season too. Looks like they've got a good lineup as well here this season. We've got, I think, Mercedes on the fly lap as well. Headed, I think he just finished one. He's up into P5. The Grandadder in P5 there with a 15.2. Of course, most of these drivers coming from F4, F5 progressed into F3 this season. But we've got a few drivers who are returning to this division. One of them's Polymacci, the other one is Napol as well, as they return to this division. As we see then, Ferrari go up to P4 with a 50.1. It's only a few hundreds. You know what? Kingsman and the Provatox have set the exact same lap time in Australia. That is absolutely incredible indeed. A 5.2 kilometre circuit full of high-speed corners, heavy braking zones and heavy traction zones to be set in the exact same lap time is remarkable as well. However, his teammate Napol, I think, who was on a flying lap, but I think he completed it just now. As we see the McLaren of Eveland, who unfortunately has invalidated in the middle sector, and that could be at turn 6 where most people are getting caught out as well. Just easy to run out wide and easy to use all that road up as well, so you be very careful on the outside of turn 6. You want to maximise as much as you can. Sorry about that. You've got to maximise as much as you can, but it's a very, very dangerous place indeed at turn 6. So Fernando Alonso, we saw George Russell crash there back in 2024, I believe, when he was behind Alonso, and we also saw Pastor Maldonado crash there too back in 2012 when he was hunted down Fernando Alonso as well, ironically, in that corner. But majority of drivers then are back in the pit lane. We've still got Melvin in P19 there to get off the mark, but unfortunately he just can't seem to find the time. He's down once again in the middle sector and invalidated too. So hopefully with the remaining time he has now, he should get another lap time indeed for sure, as he will head back off into the pit lane. So it's very quiet so far in this qualifying session, with the majority of drivers heading into the pit lane then waiting for the final runs in this 4 minutes and 42 qualifying sessions left here and to determine pole position. I think Seth Livel goes up into P17. He should complete the lap as well, so at the back of the field, unfortunately. But Melvin in P19 hasn't set lap time just yet. DeMarco has in first place with a 40.9, and so far only 2 drivers inside the 14s. My pole prediction time was like a high 19, so I'm pretty sure I got nailed on the head there as well. But it's just a quiet before the storm at the moment, with every single driver in the pit lane waiting to go for the final lap here in qualifying. So far, it's DeMarco pole ahead of Polymacci, Evelyn in P3, that's your top three for the time being. Both McLarens have got themselves up inside the top three, which could pay dividends later on in the race in terms of strategy as well. But we're finally starting to see some cars cut the pit lane then for the final potential runs in qualifying, and a 40.9 is the time to beat.
Very close stuff in this grid. The entire top 17 separate within 9/10 of a second. And well, the question is anyone going to be able to beat that 1:14.905? We know Polymacci, he gained a few hundreds through the first sector. We know he probably is able to get quicker, but it's so tricky. It can be so difficult to just keep your car within those wide lines, especially through the turn 6, 7 chicane. We've seen so many drivers invalidating their lap through there. And yeah, the pressure is going to be on in these final few minutes. The first driver out on track is Sanatatos in the Red Bull, looking to go out quite early. So he might be able to go for 2 runs if he makes a mistake on his first one. Can slow down again and then try another one. So that might be the reason why he's going out early. And Polymacci is also going out quite early, just under 3 minutes remaining, and he finds himself on track as well in the McLaren. In pursuit of that pole position at the moment, but there are a lot of drivers very close behind as well. From P3 down to P7 it's less than half a tenth of a second, separating 5 drivers. It's so incredibly close, like it has always been in PSGL, PSF3 in a previous season as well. But we're going to take a look at the Red Bull down in P14 as he is about to start his final flying lap. Could be, unless he backs off and then goes again. In the final couple of minutes. He's currently 7/10 of a second away from pole position, just over 1.5 tenths, or just under 1.5 tenths away from P13 as Moikuri has rejoined, but I think it's a little bit too late for him to still have to go, so it might be qualifying over him as well. The Red Bull invalidates through turn 1, so this is exactly why he went out early, because now he can just recharge and go for another one when everyone else is going out of the pit lane as well. It's getting very busy here through the first sector. So it might be quite a bit of traffic for Polymacci to deal with, who is going to start his flying lap right now. So let's hope he is not going to get impeded, as there's more drivers coming out of the pit lane. But he is going to start his flying lap going towards the turns 1 and 2 chicane, and he invalidates as well through turn 1. Every single driver are right on board with in qualifying so far as either invalidated or gone quickest. But Polymacci invalidated as well, and that's another reason why he went out early, because now he can go for another run with 1.5 minutes remaining. But look how close it gets. The Mercedes right behind as well, nearly making contact with the McLaren. It's going to be very busy in the final sector when everyone is going to prepare for their final runs. Everyone is out on track apart from Moikuli, but we are all preparing for these final runs. It could get hectic here in the dying moments of qualifying.
It starts to boil up now. And a lot of drivers on their last 5 laps could make potential mistakes. We've seen 2 of them so far in towards turn 1. Not a common place you see people invalidating in towards turn 1. The exit bit, fair enough at turn 2, but on the entry, just cutting a lot of curve there as well. For good measure, try and maximise everything you've got to get the best out of your lap time. Slav is down by a tenth of a second, but he still has a chance to make it up in the final lap sector. So let's see what he does then as he uses the battery heading down in towards turn 11. Look at the traffic down there on your map. There's a lot of people down there, so I really hope Slav can pick his way through the traffic. But there's a Ferrari! Oh, Ferrari didn't get out of the way, and Slav is very disappointed indeed, as he has every right to be. I think that was proper talks in P4, not expecting the Ferrari to be the lap time, and it wasn't possible. It was the Ferrari teammate of McKilleney. So McKilleney, unfortunately, they get in the way and ruining somebody's lap, and he's about to make his way now towards the final corner. 12 seconds left to go in his qualifying session, and so far it is DeMarco on pole position ahead of Polymacci, but they're both on the flying laps right now. But DeMarco unfortunately validated on his last run, and that's qualifying done for him there. So it's all down to Polymacci, it's all down to other people to see if he can try and take pole away from DeMarco, who's at a blistering lap time of a 40.9 ahead of Polymacci by almost a second, almost a tenth as well, for good measure. But we've got majority of people then on their final laps, and let's see who can improve. On board with the McLaren driver Evelyn, he's up by 900ths of a second there, so not much, but there's still time to gain in his middle on last sector. So let's see how he hooks it up very nicely as we're on the DRS then, headed in towards turn 9 and turn 10. This fast speed chicane, who's caused a lot of problems for drivers in the past. I remember drivers spinning out, crashing there too. I remember Timo Glock's crash back in 2007 when he skated across the gravel. But Evelyn is up in the middle sector. DRS wide open as we head down in towards turn 11. It's all about keeping nice and tidy now. It's very easy to just overdo it, getting the start at the wrong time there. As we see him now coming through turn 12. Just a slight lift off there. Coming towards now the pullers will call. Let's see if he's done enough to try and take Paul away. And ILT Junker Angel is in P2. Here comes Evan towards the line. Now let's see what he can do in the McLaren. He could. Oh, Polymachi goes quickest with a 14.8, but here comes Evelyn. It's P4 with a 15.0, so just so close. But Polymachi is on pole position for the first time this season. Amazing. What a way to kick off the season opener. And let's see, can he continue momentum all the way down to the race?
Look at that, the entire grid separated by 8.5 tenths, and it was Mikey who didn't even get to do a final lap, but wow, Polymachi on pole position by 0.04 of a second ahead of the Mike, who unfortunately invalidated on his final run, and Junkie Engel came out of absolutely nowhere to put his Mercedes on the second row as well, 77,000 of a second away from pole position, and the other McLaren of Edwin in P4, so the two McLarens both on the first two rows, and well, looking Melbourne, but congratulations to Polymachi with a great qualifying performance. It is said you have left the session, Jamie, by the way, so you might have to read. I'm not sure what that is about. If you can still hear me. I don't think you can, but these are your final qualifying results. Are you out of the session? I think you are.
Yeah.
I'll invite you as soon as I can. But we'll take you to the final qualifying results. It's Milan Diosi in P5, Napoli in 6th, and it's Melbourne Everman in 7th, Provotox in 8th, Kingsman in P9, and Grandada in 10th place, and Levi KDRDN, Slav McKinney, the Haas of Machiev in P15, and so on and so forth. But what an interesting qualifying that was, what a close qualifying that was. And it should make up for an incredible race as well, which we are going to be preparing to right now. I'll send an invite as soon as I get to the screen. And it's rejoined already, so I shouldn't have to. But now we can prepare ourselves for the race. And strategy-wise, I don't think Melbourne is particularly harsh on tyre wear. I think it should be an easy one-stop from medium starts. And it's at least not to what I remember when I did some races back here a couple of weeks ago. But, well, Polymachi starting his first race, the first race of the season on pole position. We know he had some bad luck last season in season 40. He did get one win, but the majority of the reason, majority of the season, he had bad luck or made some mistakes or had internet connection issues, and often found himself towards the back of the field, which really didn't show what his true pace was. But now he has a golden opportunity again to make some great, kick off the season very strongly indeed. And he could kick off the season with a win and put himself immediately in the championship fight. But, well, this track, it has got 4 DRS zones. So, well, starting from pole position, definitely will not win you the race. It's going to be about strategy as well, ERS management, all sorts of things. But, well, let's see what this race has got in store for us.
Exactly. I'm looking forward to this race. A brand new season in season 41 here in PSGL F3. And it is Polymachi, who was in F3 last season and still is here today as well, on pole position. And let's see what he can do down towards turn 1. Sometimes it can be a hectic start towards turn 1. I think it was in 2002 or 4 when there was a massive pile up heading towards turn 1 there. I remember Ralph Schumacher going over the top, I think, of, was it Barrichello at the time? I can't remember who it was, but we also saw turn 1 of 2009 with Mark Webber getting involved, Jensen Butters, Rubens Barrichello as well, and Hickey Kovalainen. Then, of course, we had that famous crash in 2010 when Fernando Alonso, Schumacher, and Button all made contact. I think Schumacher got spent he got spent. Sorry, let me try to rephrase that. He got sent around. There we go. By I think it was Jensen, or I'm not quite sure who it was because I haven't seen it for a long time. Then, of course, yellow flags, safety cars as well, which could be a probability and a factor heading towards this race. So let's see how it was all panned out. As we just wait for the drivers then to ready up and we can get racing here at the Australian Grand Prix. I cannot wait. Let's see what happens after the 29 laps here in Australia. But Polymachi, like I said, is looking to make an absolute statement tonight after all the bad luck he got plagued with last season. Just couldn't catch a break whatsoever no matter what happened. He's always had some good pace but not been able to show it. But hopefully a brand new season for him can rejuvenate him and bring him back towards the top again. But you get points, fastest pole as well, not fastest lap. So he has already got a point there for him. But we're just waiting for the drivers there to ready up and we could get racing here in Melbourne. The season opener since 1996 to 2019. And of course, Bahrain and Austria took over for 1 year, 2020. Then it was Bahrain from 21 to 2024. Then 2025, we returned back to the season opener in Australia, and what a race that was indeed. This seems like it's more fitting for an open over race as well. Australia, a great track as well, and always got some history and drama to go with it. But yeah, I'm glad it's back on the calendar for the first race of the season. And I think it's China and Japan, so they're swapping around the calendar a little bit as well. But yeah, let's see what happens then going towards this race. Will there be any crashes? Will there be any safety cars or VSCs? Who knows? But we're just still waiting for the drivers to get ready, and hopefully we can get racing. Who do you think's going to win today, Milan?
That is a very difficult question indeed, because like I said before, we got 4 DRS zones around this track. You can start on pole, but you never know what's going to happen in this race. The walls are quite close as well at some points on this track, so a safety car can be just around the corner as well. Of course, Podamachi's got the best cards in hand. He shows some incredible pace, but Maiko, he's been quick in qualifying as well, and if he didn't invalidate, he might be able to have beaten that lap time. But of course, qualifying pace does not translate into race pace either. So we'll have to wait and see. At the moment, I think Podamachi, we know how quick he has been over a race last season. He got a very convenient win last season. So I definitely think he's got the ability to win this race tonight. But it's not only going to be about raw race pace, it's going to be about strategic masterclass as well. So it is a difficult question. I really can't tell you who's going to be winning this race. But I do know we're probably going to see an incredible fight between all these drivers in the season opener here for season 41.
Exactly as well. And we saw a lot of epic fights last season, very, very tense indeed. A few races will go over top, a bit of chaos as well during that eventful races, like I remember Las Vegas being one. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this, and let's see who leads as the lights about to go out very soon. We are underway here at the Australian Grand Prix for the first race of the season. PSGL, it's go! And so far, Polymachi gets a lightning start as DeMarcos tucks it behind, self for P2. But down the inside goes McLaren of F1. What a move there in towards turn 1 as we get back on the main straight. Sorry about the noise as well. It's looking at, I think there's a glitch with the noise, I think, with me. So apologies about that. As we head down in towards turn 3 we go then. We've got 2 of them side by side. Junkie Angel has to back out there as he tries to pressure. That noise is really annoying, so I have to leave and Jude again because it's the engine's revving out. That's the type of noise.
So a clean start at the front. Polymachi leads the field ahead of the Maiko, and then it's Edwin in P3, the McLaren duo, both inside the top 3. Was a bold move there from Edwin going in towards turn 1, and it has paid off so far as he finds himself in P3, looking like he has underfueled for this race. One of the few drivers to do so. It's Junkie Angle in P4, currently in the Mercedes, but he's very close to the back of Edwin and looking to take that position back as we go towards the turn 8 right-hander there, but late on the brakes goes Edwin, is able to maintain his position, remains in P3 for now, with the Mercedes just following closely behind as well. But it's a clean start for everyone, surprisingly, here as well, when everyone is still within this same DRS lane, as it will be as we go on to the second lap when DRS will be enabled. Moves being made in the back of, though, with Moikoli getting past Provotox for P17, with fast up the race there for Podamachi, who leads the way ahead of the Alpine of the Maiko by 4/10 of a second. But now DRS will come into play, and we might see some interesting fights down the back straight as Edwin in P3, Junkie Engel P4, Milan in P5, and Melvin in P6 in the Aston Martin, while the other Aston Martin is making a move on Mick Giller in P15, and now finds himself up position and into P14. Alamicho in the other Aston Martin. But now we're going to enter the back straight, and it's going to be DRS open for the Maiko. He's deploying the battery as well, so looking to potentially already gain a position early on in the race. But Polamachi is using some battery as well to defend against the storming Alpine as we go in towards chicane, getting very close to the back, but not close enough to go for the move. But now we'll have the DRS again. Polamachi is defending and wants to stay in front right now, as you know, it can get quite hectic when you're very close to each other in the midfield. And Podamachi is going to lead the way out of lap 2 and going on to lap 3. But the Alpine of the Maiko is very close indeed in the fight for P1 right now.
And you can see there's a massive split in the trade as well with Slav down to P9. Those guys were fighting all the way down in towards turn 12. Somebody's off the track there at turn 30. I think it is Mighty Wombat who's off the track there. But the fast lap is starting to come in now. And you can see DeMarco is really behind Polymachi, pushing him through the corners. So we head through turn 2. DRS wide open, but sure not going to go for the move just yet. Just want to sit by this time and wait for the opportunity. Here comes Milan down the inside in towards turn 3. Wheel to between the two. But can Milan get ahead with the outside line being more preferred? I think he got ahead though, but Mercedes is still there. Side by side in towards turn 5. Contacts made as well. They're keeping that nice on the skate. But what a move there for Milan. As you saw, Junkie Angel not willing to back out for the time being then, as he has to settle for P5. But look at this, the Alpine they might make his move with the DRS wide open. Will he get past him on the straight, or will he wait behind? Just think about the long-term game here. All he needs to do is try and keep the McLaren behind the other one as DeMarco goes side by side and he's up in the lead before turn number 9. He takes the lead of the Australian Grand Prix, but the two McLarens will be hunting him down, of course. So let's see how he holds up in the lead there as well. We've got a few people changing positions in the midfield. That gap's been broken down already as Melvin's going side by side there with Junkie Angel, and Junkie Angel looking to a switch back. Can he get back down the inside? No, he can't for the time being. Has to stay behind. But I think Junkie Angel has lost 2 places now with Milan going through. Oh, he loses traction heavily there as well. The exit at turn 13 and his teammate goes through. And here comes the racing ball. So it looks like he's struggling to mini compound tyres there. I see Junkie Angel can't seem to get any grip. No form, no rhythm as we head down in towards turn 1. The racing ball looks very interesting in the back of the Mercedes there, but it looks like key signs are starting to show as well, with Junkie Angel's tyre management not being that great, or he's just plainly struggling with traction. But however, he's in a bit of bother now. He's got the racing ball right behind him. Great qualifying, but unfortunately dropped down a few places, and hopefully he can get himself sorted out, because the gap's quite far behind as well. For P9, there's about 2 seconds between those guys there as well. In the second DRS train, when they were scrapping out on the first few laps, down towards 11, they lost the DRS to each other, and now they've got to play the patient long waiting game if they can. But Polymatch now has the DRS at the back of DeMarco. Will he go for a move or just sit behind? At this stage of the Grand Prix, the top 2 of the competition, you don't really need to attack at this stage. Just do a bit of time management and follow the guy ahead of you as well. I know Dirtier is a major key around here, but there is 4 DRS zones, so I think these guys are just settling into a rhythm right now, not going for any overtakes or dive bombs just yet, as they want to make it through the medium compound tyres. Then they'll fight start for the hard compound tyres. I think that medium compound tyres, it's very easy. I think the tyres degrade so heavily around here as well, so you can be very careful in terms of tyre management. As McKinney gets a 3-second penalty for multiple infringements, as Evelyn in P3 has lost the DRS towards Polymachi. So it looks like he's struggling to keep up with the top 2 there, and we could see that McLaren on the massive pressure from Milan right behind. Milan's too far back to make a move, but luckily for Evan, he's still got the DRS here, because remember, there is only 1 detection point for 2 DRS zones out of turn 1 and also out of turn 2 to turn 3. So that's where the detection point is for 2 DRS zones, like it was in Mexico. This car sound is absolutely horrible, my bad. I liked out the session earlier, I'm not quite sure, but I do apologise about the car revving out.
So we enter the back straight once more. Polymachi now will try to make the move. His teammate behind is struggling to keep up and actually has to use a lot of battery to stay close to Polymachi, down to 13%. And the RE right behind him is closing in. Junkie Angle, he's been going backwards in this race, lost 4 positions since his starting position, as they're working together back there in P9 and P10 to try and close the gap towards Levi in P8. And the Kick Sauber now is dropped behind 1.3 seconds. It's going to be under pressure from Napo, who just picks up his time penalty, goes to the outside into the braking zone, and it's Napo up to P11. But unfortunately now, with a 3-second time penalty, we'll be looking to close the gap again towards Schlaf just ahead in P10. Cap's now 1.4. So we end lap number 5. We go to lap number 6. And Polymachi and De Mike is still very much in the lead of this race. Edwin, he is 7/10 of a second behind, so he's gained a little bit of time on the previous lap. But he does have to use quite a bit of battery to remain close to the leading 2. And Polymachi is getting very close indeed now towards the Alpine, and might be lining up a move down the back straight in a couple of corners. He's got a full battery to work with. D'Amico, he's got quite a bit of ERS as well to try and defend against Polymachi, but he will have to DRS as we come out of turns 6 and 7, just within those track limits. And now he is pushing that battery to get closer to the Alpine. He will have to DRS, and it's going to open now. And Polymachi is closing in, is going to try and go for the lead once more. Around the outside he goes of D'Amico, and Polymachi is back into the lead of this race on a lap 6. The Alpine's very much still close behind, but he's got the double DRS, so he's able to defend his position successfully as we go in towards the final chicane. And the RB looking at the inside there for a brief moment there of Edwin, but unable to really have a go for the final spot on the podium. But Bonamatchi now started from pole position, and as we exit lap 6, finds himself back into the lead of this race. But I have a feeling that these two are just going to be swapping around quite a bit, especially during the first stint. You don't really want to fight too much early on in the race. You want to extend the stint as much as possible and don't want to wear out your tires too much. And so that's the Alpine of Tomaco very wide out of turn 2. They might be getting quite close to a track limit, but the train is connected again, because Edwin is 5/6 tenths of a second behind as they swapped around on the previous lap, but he is still very much under pressure from Milan in P4, 3 tenths of a second separated two, and he's got twice the battery to work with. And it's a bit of a moment coming out of turn 7 for Edwin, and is that going to be able to give the opportunity to Milan to have the DRS and the slipstream? Here he comes with the slipstream. He's going to try and go on the outside, but he doesn't quite get close enough to really pull off that move. And it's Edwin who defends successfully with the battery, and he is closing the gap as well now towards the Michael. He's top 4, top 5 getting very closely to each other here at the end of lap 7, and it's Junkie Engel who has dropped behind. He's very low on battery, started in P3 but finds himself in P7, and almost a full second behind his teammate now here at the end of lap 7.
And Lava in P8 is also catched up as well. He's 8 tenths behind is LT Junkie towards set in P7 and P8 there. As we go on to the race straight once again then, Polymachi still leads at Marco. I think they're just playing a long, waiting, patient game. Just being very smart about it. No need to attack. Just control the pace at the front of the field, because ideally it's only these two that can swap places, as it's so difficult to swap around in the DRS trade. But Milan is putting big pressure on the McLaren as we head down in towards turn 3, but nothing doing there. Does the McLaren go out wide? Just a little bit, but it should be enough to make Milan go through. As we see a retirement in the pit lane, as McKillen unfortunately has retired in the pit lane and he's out of the Grand Prix. But look at that, Evan was so close to the wall at the exit of turn 4 there as well, just scraped it, and now he's off the track again in towards turn 6 where people picked up a validations and qualifying. Will Milan decide to overtake him on this straight with the DRS wide open? Can he smooth past? Can he get past him very quickly? He has to now, because it seems like Evan's struggling, but down towards 9, turn 9 and turn 10, he can't get him for the time being. So let's see if he can try and set himself up in towards the 11, try and go down the inside into a braking zone. Can he do it though? McLaren's defending. He goes left, and Milan goes right. Down the inside is a dummy, but no, he couldn't pay it off there. I thought for 1 second go left, right, try and confuse me a little bit as well. I try and force him into a mistake, but not to be, as Evan has defended that P3 very well. But he's got a few cars right behind him, including Milan, Melvin, and the Grandadder as well. As we see Evan in the pit lane as well. On lap 8, I thought there was a bit of an early pit stop there, but he's in the pits. And let's see if there's a set of the hardcore power tires. It should be set of hardcore power tires. It is. And he'll take them all the way to the end. So interesting there. He wants to do the undercut his teammate, Andy Marco, as he was losing time in the mid-cut power tires. Naples retired on the final corner, is it? Or in the pit lane? I think he has retired in the pit lane. I saw Williams go off there in the final corner, so I assumed it was Napol, but Kingsman has lost his end play. I think he made contact with somebody, and what a shame. So Evans rejoined the P16 ahead of the Williams driver at the time being. The gap in front is 8 tenths of a second there, with DeMarco and Polymachi controlling it really nicely. But I wonder now, are they going to respond to the undercut threats from Evan in P16? The undercut can be very powerful here as well. So let's see if any of these guys at the front decide to pit on this lap, or try and stretch it out as well to try and peel along those hardcore power tyres, make their life expectancy better towards in the Grand Prix. But very early pit stop. We'll see if it pays difference for him or not, as Alamico gets past KDRDN, who's dropped back another place towards the Ferrari. There's the scrap in the midfield for you. As we see, then the Sauber driver doesn't have DRS, it seems, so he must have got swamped on the straight by the Aston Martin and the Ferrari. Hence why he's done the P12. But is anybody going to pit this lap? No, they're not. They're going to continue out. So I thought it was a very early pit stop, but it looks like Evans got more something else to try and respond with the undercut threat, as they can't overtake in that DRS, unfortunately, the DRS trades. Junkie Angel has retired too. I think he's glad to get rid of his mini-compound tyres and put on a new set of hards, and hopefully for him he can take it towards in the Grand Prix. Just hasn't had the pace really in this race to try and contend with the guys at the front. Made a few mistakes here and there as well, so maybe not familiar with the track, or maybe his qualifying pace was suited towards his setup. But Melvin made a mistake at a turn three there, just a little one as well. Went a bit deep, and he gets so close towards the edge of the painted boards as well as we head down towards turn 6. DeMarco's right behind Polymachi, and I wonder, will he go for a move with the DRS wide open or just sit behind? Once again, I apologise about the engine noise there, not ideal, but it's something we've got to unfortunately live with for the remainder of this race. DeMarco can't get past for the time being. He stays behind, but I wonder when these two will decide to pit. As Polymachi, did you see that? I think he made a mistake.
Yeah, it was made a mistake out of the chicane. He almost lost the back end there and went straight into the wall, but fortunately for him, he saved it and maintains in his position. But now that allows DeMarco to get even closer to the back, and Melvin as well in the Aston Martin, getting close to the back of the two race leaders. Is anyone going to put into the pit lane on this lap? Certainly not the race leaders, as they all continue on, but Milan is going to go into the pit lane from P4 to try and cover off potential undercut from cars behind. Yellow flags are out though, and it is the Mercedes of the Grand Data who made a mistake out of the final corner. Might have spun coming out of turn 14. Lost a lot of time and a lot of position, and also lost his end plate on the right hand side. So not ideal for the Mercedes there, as we see Milan rejoining well behind Edwin in the McLaren. The gap between those two is like 5 seconds as the RB comes out of the pit lane, 4.5 to be precise. So that is the undercut there for Edwin, the 2-lap tire advantage he's got, and Junkie Angle is able to get past the RB as well as we come to the braking zone of turn 3. So Mercedes now finds himself in P12, but the RB will have the tire advantage towards the end of the race. Just behind it's Levi trying to find a way past the Williams of Kinskman, who has stayed out also with front wing damage. So he wants to get by as soon as possible. But Polymachi 4 tenths ahead of the Mike as we enter the final sector here on lap 11. And the pit stops are going to be getting quite sooner. They're going to see a lot more pit stops at this stage. And when our race leader is going to pull into the pit lane to put on a set of hards. Polymachi stays out. No, he doesn't, because the Alpine comes in as well. So the entire top 3 putting into the pit lane. Polymachi, Maiko and Delvin all into the pit lane here on lap 11. The McLaren comes in first to swap around his mediums for a set of hards. And the Maiko and Melvin will do the same thing. Everyone else putting the pit lane as well. Schlav is the first one to continue on. And look at that, they're inside of each other. It was the Maiko very close to Polymachi. Well, I say very close, they were fully inside of each other. But Polymachi, 14 for him, stays ahead. And where are they going to come out? They're behind Edwin, and they're only just ahead there of Milan in the RB. Look how close he is to the back of the Alpine of the Mike, and look at have a go in towards this turn 4, and he's going to try and send one to the inside. There was almost contact between our former 2 race leaders as they go side by side, but just does not have the space to go around the outside there. And the Maiko successfully defends his position to stay in P8, but Edwin Nelson's undercut has worked a dream there. He's in P5 and he's got 5 seconds towards his teammate Polymachi, who pitted 3 laps later.
Indeed, so he's a net P5 right now, the top 4 not pitting just yet. They're looking to extend their stint, but you got to feel sorry for Grandada because he's spotted the final corner, and it was somebody else I think who spotted the final corner and lost his end plate. He had to do a whole lap without his end plate, and we did see the Grandada spin, but I don't think he had any front wing damage at all, so he's able to continue there. He's bringing the gap down towards Slab, but I wonder if these guys now just hanging for safety car as they're leaving it very late indeed. Almeco's under massive pressure from Naslan right behind as those two peel up to the pit lane. That's good news for Elvin because he doesn't lose any time whatsoever. He's got the gap behind, and the gap behind him is about, let's have a look right now to see where he is. It is 2.3 between first and second place as Polymachi now. Next targets get past Santistatos in P2, running on those old mini compound tyres. But now he's done the undercut, Evan. This means that, he's got a good gap, about 4 seconds. But what about his tyres towards the end of the race? Will they start to degrade and suffer? And the grip advantage swings back towards Polymachi and Demaiko. It's a good undercut, but does it have a price to pay at the end of the race with those hard compound tyres being attached? A few laps earlier than expected, it should be okay, but the tyres won't be very good at all with the grain in and much wear as well. So let's see if we can try to make those tyres go towards the end of the Grand Prix. Polymachi then, right behind the Red Bull. This should be an easy move, taking candy from a baby, and it is, as you don't see Santos really defending because he knows that's not his fight. And there's no need to try and defend that either. But DeMarco's got to make his way past, but cleanly as well, because the Red Bull goes off in towards the grass there, and DeMarco's through. Very risky move indeed. But of course, when you're behind somebody on all the tyres, you've got to adapt to their speed as well. I know it's so desperate to be stuck behind somebody, but at the same time, though, it can make or break your race as well by being stuck behind people on all the tyres and losing your patience a bit as well. So, but DeMarco had to make that move though, because otherwise we'd have lost the DRS towards Polimachi. As the gap between first and second is 3.1 seconds. Can Polimachi bring the gap down towards his teammate? There is your race leader so far in the picture, as Polimachi has set the fastest the Grand Prix in second place there. He's still under pressure for DeMarco. Milan's done a really good job as well in P4 in the racing ball, and he's running inside the podium contention as well. He started down in P5. He's up into P4 right now and doing such a solid job, and putting those two guys under massive pressure indeed. So the gap's gone down to 2.7 already on this lap. The gap was like 3.2, now it's 2.7, so that's like half second gain already on this lap. And this Evan will be hunted down by his teammate and the rest of the guys behind as well, being on 3 or 4 lap, all the difference in tyres as well. But Polimachi then, the gap is 2.7. Can he bring it down? As he's got DeMarco right behind in the DRS as well. And so is Milan. So is Joker Angel in P5. And not able to make a move going in towards turn 9 and turn 10. We're almost halfway in towards this Grand Prix. And so far it is Evan who leads this race ahead of Polimachi by 2.8 seconds. But of course, he's on the older hardcore power tyres in comparison towards the guys behind. And 3 or 4 laps difference does make a big difference on this game. And I wonder how much time we will lose towards in the Grand Prix. I wonder if Polimachi and the guys behind can catch up. But they're running their own personal scrap for P2 right now. And it's between Polimachi, DeMarco and Milan in P2, 3 and 4, as they're hunted down Evan as well for first place.
Yeah, they can also work together. Polimachi and DeMarco can swap around a little bit with the DRS and close up the gap that way towards Edwin. So Melbourne gets ahead of Junkie Angle for P5. And the Aston Martin now is going to set his sight at the top 4, but the gap is 1.5 seconds. As Polimachi now the gap is 2.1 seconds, so almost a full second gain over the past lap. And he is definitely closing that gap towards his teammate, and he's bringing DeMarco and Milan with him as well in P3 and P4. And look how close the Alpine now is to the back of Polimachi, who is using quite a bit of battery to close that gap. Now the gap's 5 tenths towards DeMarco, but I don't think he's going to be able to get himself alongside the McLaren going in towards chicane. So he's choosing to stay behind for now at this stage of the race. We just passed the halfway point, and we still got 14 laps remaining after this one. And DeMarco is choosing to follow the McLaren rather than fight him when they're both trying to close the gap. As Slav is now up to P9, just ahead there of Moikel, who has found himself inside the top 10, started at the very back of the grid, and he's made up quite a bit of positions to be inside the top 10. Of course, he did pit quite a bit early there as well, as he's been on these hards for 5 laps, so he went for the undercut. But good to see him inside the top 10, someone that I've raced against quite a bit on this game. So it's interesting to see where he compares himself to this PSGL F2 grip. But look at the gap at the front, 1.1 seconds suddenly there between Edwin and Polimachi. So that gap is coming down by, well, around 1 second per lap between our 2 race leaders. And I do wonder if these 2 McLarens are going to work together. Of course, they're teammates, so they should be working together to probably bring this 1-2 home. And I think Polimachi is going to get the DRS going on towards the next straight. And, well, they're probably going to be fighting it out at the very end of the race. But they need to keep the Alpine of DeMarco behind, who has got quite a bit of the ERS advantage, but unable to go for any move, because Polimachi now has the DRS. And is going to get closer and closer towards his teammate. And now it's up to them to swap around every single lap and keep the Alpine behind to hopefully for them bring home a 1-2 finish. But it's easier said than done, because the Alpine is getting very close indeed, and he's got a lot more battery to work with, and Milan as well in P4. So it looks like it is going to be a 4-way fight for the race win here tonight in Melbourne. But we still got 13 laps remaining as Melbourne in P5 picks up a 3-second time penalty, and that certainly confirms that we are going to be looking at a 4-way fight as we go on to lap 17.
It is indeed then Polimachi with the DRS wide open. I wonder how DeMarco's going to play it, because he knows that the 2 McLarens are probably going to work together to try and keep him behind. So I wonder what the RP driver could do. It could be a bit of a headache, but you can see Polimachi right at the back of his teammate, who maybe started to see the early signs of struggling on the tyres, doing the early undercut very early. It was lap 9 when he pitted, and he was third in the DRS trade, but wanted to do the undercut so he could get ahead and of these guys here. But unfortunately, they've caught up at Ray Knots as well, these guys. So despite having about a 4-second advantage, they've already caught up to him, and Evan could be in massive trouble towards in the Grand Prix too, with these guys all over the back of his tail. But let's see then if the lead is changed hands once again. We have the DRS on board with the McLaren driver, and let's see, does he go past? He's using the battery. Will he go side by side, heading down towards turn 9? He gets ahead of his own teammate, and back up into first place. What's the RP driver going to do? Is he going to attack aggressively because he knows that Evan does have the DRS, so may capitalise on this and use the battery of the DRS, try to get past him in towards turn 11, but he's a bit too far back as the McLaren driver did use the battery to defend there as well. So it's McLaren 1-2 still, but it looks like Evan's struggling once again, and DeMarco is right behind him as well. That's at turn 11, the heavy traction zone, so it looks like he's struggling on those hardcore power tyres already, it seems, but DeMarco is right at the back of him and would dearly love to get past him because he can't afford Polymachi pulling away, and he needs to get past him immediately. As you can see, Evan's still in the DRS range of his own teammate, but DeMarco will be very, very eager to get past the McLaren driver, who seems to be struggling once again. Here we are, the DRS wide open. Remember, Evan does have DRS as well, so DeMarco has got trying to find a way past. If he can, down he is, and it's a late move. It's a late move, getting towards turn 3. There's a bit of contact on the entry. Here comes Milan, side by side. It's up into P3. What a move there as well. So DeMarco tried to go for a move, a late send, but unfortunately got sent sideways, and Evan still remains in P2, but Evan's almost lost the DRS towards his teammate as well, so he goes off the track again. That's the second time I've seen him do that so far in this race, as Milan then looking to pounce on the McLaren driver. As the DRS is open, he should be able to get past it with ease, because I don't think the McLaren... Yes, McLaren driver still has DRS, so he's still able to get the DRS to the back of Polymachi, but not able to defend from Milan. Milan is on an absolute charge right now in second place. Can he hunt down first place man Polymachi? And what a shame for the Marco in P4. Look, he's trying to hunt down Polymachi, but unfortunately got himself tangled up with the McLaren driver there. Just a late send, and got sent into his half spin. And he's still in P4, still in this fight, but of course, in this DRS train, it's so difficult to make your way forwards as well. Melvin and ILT Junket Angel have caught up as well. They're in the DRS range now. As DeMarco's got forward damage, he has got forward damage. I didn't even notice that, but on the left-hand side of his end plate, it's missing. So did he pick it up with Evan there in P3 towards turn 3, I think it was? I'm not quite sure, but unfortunately, RP does have damage, and he might have to live with that for the remainder of this race. What a shame as well for the RP driver, who's doing such a good job in this race, but now has got sustainable damage to his nose, and it can be very difficult in the high-speed corners there, and let's hope he can try and hold on. The gap is 6 tenths between himself and Evan. Evan is definitely struggling in those hardcore power tyres. The gap is 1 second now, so Milan versus Polymachi now for the rest of this race, whilst Evan is dropping back slightly, and let's see if he gets the... Oh, massive mistake in towards turn 6 there, and he lost the car and hit the wall. Here comes DeMarco, he gets squeezed, now switches to the other side with the DRS wide open. Can he get past? He surely can this time, and he is past. He's up into P3, but Evan's still there, trying to put pressure on him, but he can't do so. DeMarco's up into P3. Can he live with that damage as well in P3? I don't think he can catch up towards the top 2 now. I think the top 2 have plainly much got it their own way first and second. They're controlling this race, but what about DeMarco in P3? How badly down the inside goes the Aston Martin? Let's see, can he make the move? A bit of a wheel bang in there, but he's up to P4. That's a nice move indeed from the Aston Martin. And now, well, unfortunately, he does have a 3-second time penalty, so the podium chances for him are very unlikely, but you never know what can happen in these last 10 laps of the Grand Prix. But so far, this race is either going to be decided by Milan or Polymachi. They've both done a mega job so far controlling this race, but which one of these two will win? I don't think the guys behind can catch up with the DRS now. These guys are plainly being left alone now to decide who will win the season opener here in PSGL. Will it be Polymachi, the man who won a race last season in USA, his one and only win, and Milan making his debut here in F3 as LT Junket Angel is right behind Evan, but not going to go for the move just yet as he stays behind the McLaren driver. The McLaren driver is really struggling, so that under early cut hasn't paid dividends. It did give him a bit of track position for a little while, much to the undercut on his rivals ahead, but this time he started to pay the price on those hardcore power tyres, and in the clutches of the Mercedes of Junkie Angel, who fought backwards himself during the first stint, but looks like he's much more comfortable now on these hardcore power tyres. He used the DRS, the battery, but also look at this, here comes Melvin around the outside, and he takes back P3. What a move there for Melvin in P4. And he's ahead, but he does have a 3-second time penalty, just to remind you. As Junkie Angel side by side in towards 11, he goes. Can he make it past? Evan just a bit late the brakes there, but can Junkie Angel do a switchback? He might be able to do some with the battery, but he can't fully get alongside head here in towards turn 13. Very wise thing to do, backing out that corner, because it's going to end up in a crash one way or another. But look at this, Junkie Angel's right at the back of the McLaren driver Evan, who seems to be really struggling on those hardcore power tyres. Sluggish exit at the final corner there, and now under massive pressure from Junkie Angel right behind, but he does have the DRS there to protect himself against the Mercedes driver. And Polymachi as well, almost breaking the gap towards Milan. The gap is about 9 tenths of a second there, so it looks like Milan was struggling temporarily to get himself back in the DRS range there, and I thought for 1 second Polymachi will pull away. But so far, it's been a really good season opener for Polymachi. Was played by bad luck all the time, and just couldn't catch a break. And towards the last few races of the season, that's when he started to show his mettle and won in USA, taking more podiums as well. But he is very quick on his day. It's just sometimes internet is against him, and that's very important as well for league racing. Has Milan got the DRS still? Yes, he has. So he's able to stay in the back of Polymachi there as well. They're both quite Johnny Low on the ERS. As Junkie Angels right behind Evan, who's struggling on those hardcore power tyres. Here we go then. Is he about to make a move down the inside into towards turn 9? He's going to make it the side by side, but Evan still has the outside line, but surely with the better switchback at the exit. Junkie Angel goes past him. He moves up into P5 ahead of McLaren. McLaren tried for all his might, but unfortunately couldn't defend, and now he's down into P6. He's struggling those hardcore power tyres. You can see him make a mistake again in towards turn 11, but I really hope he doesn't fall back any more places now, because he's got to the Haas, Slav and Livol in P9 all hunting down as well, so be very careful of them. But back towards the front of the field, it is still Milan, and it's still Polymachi in first and second place. And Milan this time has saved a lot more EOS in store, but Polymachi's pace seems relentless so far in first place, almost breaking the gap towards 1 second. And I think Milan's pushing harder than he would have wanted to try and keep himself within that DRS range to have a chance for the race win. But so far, these two got a massive gap, 4 seconds. They don't have to worry about anybody else for the time being. Just focus on them, and we'll see how it all evolves towards the end of the Grand Prix. I think Milan is just sitting there in P2, harvesting his battery, waiting for the right strike and overtaking. Because obviously around here, I think it's the norm to be behind somebody in the DRS range, with the DRS literally being so powerful as well, and the battery. So I don't think I think Polymachi might be a bit nervous on the last lap of the Grand Prix with Milan all at the back of him, but so far they remain stale in first and second place. I think Milan made a mistake at turn 10 there, just a little bit of a wobble on from the Racing Bull, but he should have the DRS still to keep up with Polymachi in first place. The battle for the podium is still heated up, although Melbourne's got a 3-second penalty there in the Aston Martin. It's DeMarco who's the one that could get a podium, despite having front wing damage, as I think we saw between himself and who was it at the time? I think it was DeMarco at the time. I think it was the McLaren driver, wasn't it, of Evan, who made contact with him going towards turn 3. But now the DRS wide open once again for DeMarco P4. He doesn't really necessarily have to fight the Aston Martin driver, just stay behind him and make sure you stay within 3 seconds as well, because of his penalty deficit window. And despite the damage, his pace has been absolutely flawless as well, so it's a shame about the damage there. He could have evolved in the fight for first place, making it 3-way fights, but unfortunately he has got damage there in the Alpine, hindering his performance as well. Junkie Angel's able to catch up towards the back of the Alpine driver, otherwise might have a shot at getting the podium too here, as Evan keeps dropping backwards on those hardcore power tyres, which seem to be falling away every single lap as well, corner by corner. And I wonder if anybody else will catch up. We've got the Hassan Damashtiv catching up as well. He's right behind, or almost a lot behind the McLaren driver. He's 1.6 seconds away, and looks like Evan might be shuffled backwards in the pack as well. Go for the early undercut, but unfortunately it hasn't paid dividends for him at all in this race. He was leading for a short stint of it, then his teammate arrived, Milan alive, and the rest did, and just dropped back ever since as well. Zadis Tatos gets a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings there, as Pavatox in the Ferrari goes up into P9 ahead of St. Level. As what happened to him as well? He fell backwards so much as well in towards this Grand Prix. Down in towards P9, he was run up there for the time being, but unfortunately just seemed to just drop backwards a little bit. But Polymachi then, let's see how he's doing so far in first place, keeping the gap between himself and Milan. So Polymachi knows that Milan is going to potentially go for the final lap of the Grand Prix, or lap 28. So I think in retaliation to that, I think he's trying to save up battery as well, knowing that Milan's not going to go for it just yet and wait behind for the DRS wide open. It's a very smart thing for Milan. Of course, the best chance to win the Grand Prix being behind somebody in the DRS range, try and get the best shot at it. But Milan is just biding his time, waiting for the right opportunity, saved a bit of battery as well, and going all out on the final laps of the Grand Prix. There is 4 DRS zones that are helping to attack, and Polymachi will be defending as well. But Polymachi then, the gap is still 0.8 of a second, almost creeping out of his DRS range is Polymachi, but able to get that. He would dearly love to get that Racing Bull out of his DRS range as soon as possible, so he doesn't have DRS on the back of him on the last lap of the Grand Prix.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to be leading going on to the final lap of the race, especially not around this track with those 4 DRS zones. But at the moment, Polymachi, with the gap he's got, he might even be safe if he's got an 8th or 9th gap going on to the final lap, and if he's got sufficient battery to work with. So at the moment he is doing quite a good job to maintain his position. And if the gap is still 0.8 of a second going onto the back straight into the final lap, and he's able to defend with the ERS, he might still get away with leading going onto the final lap, but he does need to make sure that he's got a sufficient gap going onto lap 29. At the moment the gap's down to 0.5 of a second, as Milan of course once again with the DRS is closing the gap back down towards the McLaren driver, and behind it still the fight for P3. Though is it really a fight, because Melvin with that 3-second time penalty, as long as the Alpine doesn't get himself a penalty, he should still be safe for that final spot on corner, which is still quite impressive given he's got that front wing damage. And then he gets Junkie Angel in P5 at the moment, still ahead of Edwin, who has gone out a bit wide there out of turn 3, and it was the Haas who was tempting to go up the inside there for a brief moment, as slamming into the outside wall there goes Edwin. And that for sure is going to allow the Haas to potentially have a go down the back straight. Of course, the McLaren does not have the DRS. The Haas driver does. And I think it's going to be an easy pass to go up into P6 to the inside. He goes side by side, and that's a position gained. And the Matchev is up to P6. And here comes the Rebel trying to go around the outside as well in towards chicane. Bold move there from Slav, but he's made it work up to P7. It's a beautiful move there from the Red Bull, and Edwin, he is dropping further behind in this race down to P8. He's got the older stars of this field, and he's still got to do 4 more laps on him. He's really struggling right now in this race. The gap though towards Propatox is 4.5 seconds, so I think he should be safe to at least finish in P8. But it's really not what you want to see when he was in the leading position earlier on in this race, and now finds himself all the way back in P8. And it's not looking likely that it's going to be a double podium for McLaren, but it still could be a win for McLaren. The gap's now 5/6 of a second again between our 2 race leaders. But Milan, he is still putting the pressure on, and Potomachi, he cannot afford a single mistake in these final few laps. I don't know if they've both got any warnings, so they have to be careful as well to not run out just a little bit too wide and pick up a 3-second time penalties. We go onto the backside once again. The gap's once again 0.7 of a second, so it seems like Potomachi is able to get a really good run out of the turn 6 and 7 chicane, which gives him the advantage down the back straight and keeps him in front of the RB with a sufficient gap going on to the last DRS straight out of the turn 9 and 10 chicane. The gap's now 0.4 of a second, which is big enough to maintain him the gap, and the Haas is on the charts. He's up to P5. He's got past Junkie Angle now, who has dropped down to P6 as Edwin picks up a 3-second time, but it's for good measure. His race is going from bad to worse. Propatox is gaining as well him, as that is Kingsman with the fast up the race, and that is running out wide is Junkie Angle out of turn 10 there, or turn 11 I should say, and that is losing a position to Slav, who finds himself in P6. What a drive he has had as well in this race. He started out in P13, finds himself in P6, and what to say about Matijev in P5, who started in P15 and finds himself in P5. Some great comeback drives from some of these drivers in this race. Yellow flags are out behind, I think for a brief moment, not sure who it was for. But Edwin is losing more in time, but we focus back on the fight at the front. It's 0.3 of a second between our 2 race leaders, and this might be the first good opportunity for Milan to go for the race lead. But does he want to go for the race lead at this stage? We still got 2 laps to go after this. They are both deploying the battery, and it looks like Potomachi might be running a little bit lower wings compared to the RB, and it seems like he is going to be able to stay in front of Milan going in towards the chicane. But he is definitely getting closer on these final few laps. It's going to be all about that final lap. And at the moment, Potomachi seems like he will be leading onto that lap. But does he want to lead onto the final lap, especially when Milan is getting so close in these fast few laps?
Yeah, Polymachi in a bit of danger. He would really love Milan to go past him so he could get the DRS himself. But the only thing that Polymachi can do is just save the battery for the next few laps, because I don't think Milan's going to attack right now. I think he'll be patient and wait for it and be wise to it on the last lap of the Grand Prix. Maybe lap 28, because we've seen a few people not be able to make a move sometimes on the last lap of the Grand Prix. It doesn't always go your way, but every single driver has it in their head to a planned attack on somebody in front of him with the DRS wide open. So Milan then has got enough battery in store. There's 2 laps left to go. Will it be this lap or will it be the next lap around here in Albert Park for the first race of the season PSGL? It is down to Polymachi and Milan, who have driven beautifully today with a fantastic pace and broke the DRS gap towards the rest of the field. And Milan as well, he drove superb. I think he started down in P6 and also made his way through, trying to make some aggressive moves as well. Very good moves in towards turn 3 to 11, and he's up into P2. And now hunting down Podimachi for the race lead of the Grand Prix, but I don't think it'll be this lap as well. I think Milan is going to go for it on the last lap of the Grand Prix. And does he have enough battery left in store as well? Because we've only talked 43%, so he needs battery. And I think the last sector he can save it. Or Podimachi as well, done the same thing, and he used up a bit of battery as well. So Podimachi then, it could be under massive pressure, and he needs the battery as well to protect himself, but he's barely got in it. There's about 30-40% left in Podimachi's DRS there, in his battery, and Milan's got a bit more than him. So I think Milan then in a bit of a good spot here, as we keep it nice and tidy in these slow speed corners and try and set himself up. Where's the overtake going to happen? Not down towards turn 2, of course, but maybe at turn 11 or turn 9. I'm not quite sure, but it's definitely one of those two. Or can Podimachi defend? We're on the last lap of the Grand Prix here at PSGL, and the fight is pretty much on between first and second place. Podimachi leading, but Milan right behind has the DRS on him. And the DRS on him 4 times on this lap, but it's all about where will he make a move. Will he be those too far back to go down towards turn number 3? Plus, he doesn't want Podimachi to get the DRS himself on the final few straights there of this racetrack. Now coming towards turn 4, and the slowest part of the racetrack, make sure you can try and set yourself up nicely through these corners. Very easy to make a mistake through these corners as well. But I think Podimachi could be vulnerable. Headed down towards turn 9 as we flick through turn 6 and turn 7 this chicane here, as Milan gets so close to abusing track limits on the exit there too. But all the battery, the DRS wide open, and the slipstream as well, everything will be used to try and attack and defend Podimachi under massive pressure. But I don't think Milan's close enough to try and make any sort of gains on the McLaren driver in front of us. But the last chance is down at turn 11. Can Milan do anything about it on the final straight with the DRS? I think he's a bit too far back, so I think Podimachi got it covered and defended beautifully as well. Like you said, I think Podimachi running lower wings, and Milan, despite having DRS on him, cannot get closer as he remains in P2 for the time being there. So that should actually go well for him at all. As we see Podimachi coming towards the final corners, he had a win around here in USA, PSGL F3, his one and only win, but made that 2 here in F3 because Podimachi has driven superb in this race, and Podimachi for McLaren wins the Australian Grand Prix after a fantastic drive, great defending, and such formidable pace. Milan finishes at P2 with, on the podium, DeMarco, despite his foaming damage, still remains in P3, and Damashev in P4, coming from P15 up to P4. What a race that was for the Haas driver, under the radar, but still driven solidly to get himself inside the top 10 there, as we see the rest of the drivers, they cross the line, but Podimachi pops off to him as well. He had Milan right behind him, putting loads of pressure on him, but Podimachi did not break under pressure and maintain the win.
What a race it was from Podimachi, and what a win, what a story from the last season as well, with so much bad luck. But now what a redemption today as he gets his win. A superb drive from him, as we Edwin in the other McLaren got himself a puncture on the final lap as well, which drops him down to P12 unfortunately. So another race for that McLaren, but it certainly was for the other one, with Podimachi victorious here at Melbourne in really convincing way he's done so. So congratulations to him. And a really well-deserved drive, a really well-deserved win as well. And a great drive through Milan as well in P2 from 5th on the grid. He stayed close to Podimachi throughout the entire last stint and put the maximum pressure on the McLaren. But Podimachi did not crumble under that pressure and drove superbly towards the end of the race and secured himself the maximum amount of points. And he finds himself now in the lead of the championship in the best way possible to kickstart his season. What a drive it has been. And what a well-deserved race win for him.
Looking for comeback and revengeance is Podimachi after last season. Knowing he had the pace, he finished P13 in the driver standards last season. But what a statement to make here in Australia, Albert Park. What a way to kick things off as well. And really hope he can try and get his form of rhythm for the rest of the season, because he's a very quick driver, but he has been suffered with bad luck in the past with connection issues, especially towards the first half of the season when he just left all the time, despite being in great places. But Podimachi then, what a great start to the season, looking to carry momentum going towards the next race. And let's see if anybody else can respond back. His pole position lap time was amazing there, with a 15.8, I think it was, or 40.8, sorry. And he pretty much led the majority of the Grand Prix, just played it safe, used the DRS at the back of his rivals. Then Milan came through and watched the other people making contact or make mistakes, dropping down the order, and Milan and Podimachi went at it. But unfortunately, Milan just bided his time a bit too much and couldn't get Podimachi, the Italian, there in first place. So I think Milan there, looking in hindsight, I think what could he have done better, overtook it before, because I think Podimachi's straight line speed was just too good, and Milan could have catch him there for the end of the race. But Milan, a pleasure to commentate with you once again in PSGL. What a season opener this was as well, and looking forward to next with me. Thank you so much for being there for me the whole time commentating. I really do enjoy your company, and yeah, you're such a legend to work with me. Thank you very much.
Thank you as well. It's been a pleasure. It always has been over the past 10 months, and I've certainly enjoyed it again. And I cannot wait to for the next races for the rest of the season and what they all got in store for us. But it's been a pleasure tonight, and it will be in future races. So I'm looking forward to those. So thank you as well, as it was another great one to do with you tonight.
Thank you very much, mate. And yeah, I'll see you next time. And be back for the Belgian Grand Prix for round 2 next Monday at 8 o'clock for Formula 3, or F3 shall I say. It should be an interesting one there because the Belgian Grand Prix, long DRS straights of course, and plenty of chances to overtake and safety cars as well. Let's see what happens at the Belgian Grand Prix. But for now, it's goodbye for us in Australia, and we'll see you all when